Hey everybody, welcome to Cara's Cucina, YouTube's first and only Emmy-nominated cooking show. I'm Cara Di Falco. Today, I'm going to show you how to use summer stone fruit to make a stone fruit cobbler. Stone fruit. So if you're not familiar with the term, it's basically any fruit that has a stone-shaped or sized pit in the center of it. So things like peaches, nectarines, and plums. And we're actually going to be using a mix of these today in our cobbler. So I've got some of them started already, but I just wanted to show you a little bit about these. So stone fruits are similar to avocados, where when they're in just the right ripeness, they will pull apart beautifully for you. Otherwise, they do kind of make a mess. But they do give us some instructions. So almost all of them kind of have this seam down one side, so it's always a good place to start cutting there. And if it's in good shape, it should just twist apart for you the way an avocado will. Let's see if this one's gonna work for me. Aha, it has. And then you should be able to put the part with the pit down again, carefully because it's not completely flat. Cut it one more time. Pull 1/4 off, and from here you can pull your pit out. Now you have the option here, this one's the peach, so it's got the fuzzy skin. If you want, you can peel it. It doesn't bother me that much, so I don't bother. You're not gonna be able to peel the plum or the nectarine, so don't drive yourself crazy with that. But we are just gonna slice these, and they're gonna go right into our bowl. And remember, we're baking all of this, so all the fruit is gonna get really soft, and it doesn't have to look perfect. We're covering it as well. So if it starts to smush or fall apart a little because it's nice and ripe and juicy, don't worry about it. This one's a little too underripe. It's not going to work for me. So if it doesn't twist apart, cut perpendicular to your original one. So now you've got it in quarters. And this is where it gets a little messy. You're going to have to just kind of cram your thumb in there and see if you can peel a piece off. I'm going to do it over the bowl so at least I don't lose all the juices. Once we have our fruit in our bowl, we're gonna add about 1/4 cup of sugar and get this all mixed up, and we're just gonna let this hang out for a little bit. I have other stuff that we're gonna add to it. You can add a pinch of salt right now as well. Salt, you might say, why? Everything sweet needs a little salty to help bring out the flavors. And in this case, the juices. Look at all these beautiful summer colors. We're gonna let these hang out over here for a little while. In the meantime, we are gonna make the dough for the shortbread portion or the topping of our cobbler. Really easy biscuit dough here for our cobbler, and I do them actually without sugar because I think the fruit is plenty sweet enough for this dish that the topping doesn't need any additional sugar. But if you want, you could certainly add in a teaspoon or so of sugar. So we've also got baking soda and baking powder. And then once again, just a little pinch of salt. And we're just gonna get that blended. Then from here, very similar to making my pie crust video, which I'll put in the card above, we're just gonna add in some chilled butter that I've already kind of sliced up. It's actually starting to melt already, it's so hot, but we just wanna break these pieces up and disperse them throughout. Of course, now I'm melting it more with my hands. And this is just one stick or about 1/2 cup of butter. And we're just gonna pulse that until it kind of gets like a course meal. You'll see little pieces form. And it gets a little tough to see, but when we open it up, tilt this, you can start to see that the flour is kind of coming together with the butter into smaller pieces. And then finally, and this is the part that's a little different, we're gonna add in 1 cup of buttermilk. And this is where I love using a food processor to make dough because it just makes life so much easier. That's it. Once you got that big ball in there, you're ready to go. So we're going to set this aside, put a little flour down on our surface, and turn our dough out. Now you want a fair amount of flour down because this is a pretty sticky dough, and just be careful kind of getting it out of here because obviously there's still a blade in the bottom. We do want to try to get all of it. Get the big piece. And whenever I work with dough, I always keep a little bowl of flour nearby that I can just dip my hands into or sprinkle a little extra on if needed. It just is handy. We're just gonna gently knead this until it really starts to come together so all those little pieces incorporate in. But with a dough like this, you don't wanna work it too hard. So when you're kneading, you're just going in a motion of kind of in and up and then down and out again. And once it's formed in this dough, again, because they're biscuits, they're meant to be flaky, so you're gonna get these kind of cuts and rolls in them, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be completely smooth. But we're just gonna kinda start to shape it a little. We basically wanna make a rectangle or a shape similar to your baking dish. So I'm gonna be using my Pyrex dish. It kinda has a curved edge, which is just fine. All right, we've got our general shape here. Kind of matches the shape of our dish to a degree. We're just gonna take a knife and cut this into 6 pieces. To finish flavoring our fruit, I'm just gonna add in a little bit of vanilla extract. Again, the fruit is so sweet and delicious, it doesn't need much, but that little bit of vanilla just really kind of gives it such a wonderful flavor and aroma. And I'm adding in some cornstarch so that all of these juices kind of become nice and syrupy as they start to cook. Now you have a couple of options here. If you're not eating corn or corn products, you can use flour. If you're not eating flour or gluten products, you can use tapioca. If you don't want to use anything at all, you can actually just kind of put your hand over it and tilt the bowl out and dump out some of the juices so it's not quite so liquidy. But I happen to like when it gets nice and thick and syrupy, so I use a little bit of cornstarch. But again, you've got options here depending on what your diet is or your beliefs. But we just want to get that all mixed in. You can see it's nice and juicy and kind of syrupy already. And this is going to go right into our dish, our baking dish. Spread it nice and even. And then we're just going to place on top of our fruit our biscuit pieces. We can see they kind of fit perfectly there. And it's okay to leave a little space in between. We want to let some steam out of our fruit. We want the juices to bubble up a little bit. So I might actually not even need all these pieces. I have to cut some of these. Cut this one. And if you have a bit of extra, that's fine. You can actually throw these on a baking sheet and bake them at the same time that you bake your cobbler. And that'll give you just some extra biscuits that you can then eat with fruits or berries. Again, they're very similar to a shortcake. And it really all depends on the size of your pan and how thick you want your fruit to be, how thick you want your biscuits to be. So you have a lot of options here, but we want to leave a little bit of space. And this is ready to go. So this is going to go in the oven at 400 degrees. I've already had it preheating. 400 degrees for about 25 minutes. You'll see the biscuits will just be golden brown. You don't want them to turn too much, but they'll be nice and puffy and the fruit will be bubbly. You can serve your cobbler warm or cold. It'll store in the fridge for a couple of days with a dollop of whipped cream or some ice cream, whatever you prefer. Honestly, it's pretty good all on its own. Guys, you can be sure to find this recipe at caradifalco.com. You can follow me, Facebook and Instagram at Cara Di Falco. And don't forget, we are now signing people up for the Cucina Italy experience, so be sure to log on and check out the travel tab as well so you can join me in Italy next spring. That is it for this week. I will see you guys next time. Bon appetit.